What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome on in to 1TS Daily Live right here on One True Sport. I'm your host, Zack Heydorn from Brass Ring Media. Pumped to be here. Thanks to everybody who's joining in. And good morning to you. It's Thursday, September 19th, 2024. We got a lot to do, a lot to get to. This is 1TS Daily. We are live right here on the One True Sport YouTube channel every single Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 11 Eastern, to talk with you about the week in wrestling, the wrestling news, the dirt sheet news, show reviews, previews, and everything in between. So thanks so much for being here. If you're watching on YouTube, hello. If you're watching on Twitter, hi. If you're downloading this later as a podcast, hi to you as well. And thanks for pressing play on this show. One True Sport is somewhere that you need to be every single day. Subscribe to our channel. We've got this show, of course, but also just a ton of other stuff, just a ton of other content from great hosts, but also some of the biggest wrestling legends that the industry has ever seen. Kurt Angle, Rob Van Dam, Arn Anderson, Medusa, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. So hit subscribe so that you don't miss anything that hits this channel. Totally free to do so. And I think you'll be really happy that you did. If you're watching live right now and you can help me out with a like the video, it helps us grow the channel. It helps our legends get out in front of more fans and more eyeballs, and just helps us with the algorithm. You guys, you know the word algorithm. It matters in 2024. And if you're willing to hit like on this video, it would help us out big time. I do have the live chat open. We got Anthony in there already who says, good morning. Good morning, Anthony. Thanks so much for being here, man. I appreciate it. We got Hellboy that says, what up? What's up, man? Thanks so much for joining us today to talk a little wrestling this morning right here at 1TS Daily with One True Sport. Super chats are open as well if you're able to and want to make a contribution. Your chat will move up to the top of the list. So it can be a comment, it can be a question, it can be a rant, a rave, whatever you want it to be. But if you throw it in the super chats, I'll make sure to read it live right here on the show. So helps us out if you can do that and you're willing to do that. And I thank you all in advance for doing so, or for thinking about it. Either way. All right, let's start things off talking about AEW Dynamite from last night. Essentially a go home show for Grand Slam and for the Grand Slam event. Amy, real quick, Amy's in the chat and goes, "Morning, no more Dapper Zach out on the town." Not yeah. You know I'm back. I'm back at the old home office here. But it's becoming clearer and clearer as I continue, the old day job that it's at least once a week. At least once a week, I'm going to be out and about around the city of Chicago. So more sights and sounds to see coming soon, Amy. But thanks so much for being here. I appreciate you joining us live. It's always fun to see your name pop up. So thank you. All right. As we said, AEW Dynamite last night, go home show. Grand Slam is next week inside Arthur Ashe Stadium. It's a big episode of Dynamite. It's become kind of an annual tradition for AEW. My question to you guys, before I give my opinion on this, what did you think of last night's show? What did you think of the effort AEW put in to building matches for Grand Slam? Drop it in the chat. It doesn't have to be a super chat. I just kind of want to get a sense of where everybody's at on this as we discuss it here. So drop it in there. We'll kind of trade some comments back and forth. I wasn't a fan of what they did yesterday. I mean, I think that the Bryan Danielson Nigel McGuinness match has been, for lack of a better way to put it, an epic disaster. Doesn't mean it's not going to be a good match. I want to stipulate that right out of the gate. I think it's a fun match. I think it's a fun match for AEW to put on. But if you're going to do it, and if you're going to do that match, and you're gonna put your world champion in a situation where he's going to face this guy who in your ecosystem is pretty much just an announcer, you've got to build the matchup. You've got to promote. You've got to give people a reason and interest and intrigue to want to watch next week. And I just think that AEW regarding this match in particular are just relying way too much on something that happened nearly 20 years ago now. And do the match, that's fine, but promote it. You should have made this announcement weeks ago so you could have Danielson and Nigel in the ring together, cutting promos together. We just got like a little video package, and that's fine. That's good. That's better than nothing. But this is your main event on like one of the biggest dynamites of the year. And I think they've really just left a lot on the table by not pushing this, by not hyping it, by not focusing on it in a way that's not just an ode to what they did 18 years ago. You can build on that, but you got to build on it. You can lay the foundation for the match with that and that story and that history, but you have to build something up today under the AEW umbrella. Like, why does all that matter now? I think they just left it totally just blank. They did not, color in any of that. In addition, they're still promoting this match as if like it's not going to happen. Like, oh boy, this match is going to happen. It's booked if Bryan Danielson is cleared to wrestle. Like, that's the worst way to promote a match ever. That's like saying like, well, you guys should all be invested in this big concert that's coming to town. Be invested in it because it might happen. It might happen. Buy your tickets. It might happen. It might not, but it might. It's like, no, that's not what you do. You don't do that. You build that up. This match is happening. Tune in to see it happen. Don't tune in to see that it might happen or it might not happen. What are we doing? What are we doing? I just am not a fan of how they've gone about this. And I think they sacrificed, and I mentioned this last week on the show after the angle from a week ago, that they sacrificed a lot to get here. They changed around Darby Allin's stuff. They changed around some of Jon Moxley's stuff to get this on the books. And so do something with it. It was disappointing. And again, I think it's going to be a good match, but the fact that you can't even announce it yet officially, it's ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous. Let's get to the chat here on some of this stuff, and we can kind of keep going from there. Some other good topics were brought up that we need to get to regarding last night's Dynamite. Ooh, I'm going to sneeze, I think. Oh, I'm not going to sneeze. Okay. Very weird. All right, let's see here. Carl is in the chat. We'll start with Carl. Carl goes, it wasn't a terrible show, but also I didn't think they built any interest for next week or tried to. Yeah, exactly. It's like they kind of like resting on their laurels of like, oh, people are going to watch because it's Grand Slam and it's Nigel versus Danielson. Well, again, Nigel versus Danielson, like that appeals to such a small piece of the already kind of tiny AEW audience. It's, like it hasn't moved tickets. That's a 20,000 seat building. They've got it set up per WrestleTix for a little north of 5,000, and they've sold about 4,400 tickets. Like, this is not, I don't know how many people have seen Nigel Danielson matches, but collectively it's probably around 4,000 from way back in the day, And so, yeah, you needed to give a better sense of what the fight between them means today. That's important, no matter what you do. And again, I have issues with the match being booked in general, no question about it. But okay, you booked it, fine. We can debate that, but you can't debate the reality that when you book something, you got to promote it. That's what you do. That's your job. Promote the match. And they've done anything but that with this. So I agree with your take there, Carl. Amy says here, I agree. Plus, Nigel hasn't been able to wrestle, and he's getting into the ring, and it doesn't seem like a big deal. Yeah, Well, and look, I think that's a shrewd point, Amy. And the novelty of Nigel McGuinness getting in the ring is part of the intrigue here. So that's something you want to like try to make money off of, right? Like, and you can't do that on 2 weeks notice with promotion that says, oh, the match might not even happen anyway. Like that's not it. That's not marketing. That's not being a promoter. It should be for weeks. Nigel McGuinness is returning to the ring for his first singles match. In I don't know how long, a long time. And he's going to do it against Bryan Danielson. And it's going to be at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Like, that is how you promote this. And then you have promos between them. You have, angles between them. Like, this is what has to happen for a successful, pro wrestling show to function. And it's just been totally absent here. Thanks, Amy. Izzy's in the chat and says it's been hinted at a little with Nigel on the desk, but I do believe they're banking too much on people listening to him on commentary. It's also being overshadowed by the Combat Club storyline. So 2 good points there, Izzy. Thank you. He's a commentator on Collision, which gets about half, sometimes a little bit more than half of the AEW Dynamite audience. So that's already a tiny, tiny piece of the pie, right? That even know that Nigel McGuinness is like a face and figure and voice of AEW at this point, right? Like, that's not like he's not like a prominent guy even on the biggest show. So, again, it goes back to the same thing. Promote. You got to promote. And they just didn't do it. They just didn't do it. As far as the Combat Club storyline, yeah. I mean, that Jon Moxley and what's going on with the Combat Club, we'll get to that a little bit more here in a second. But it's the most compelling content on the show. I mean, Jon Moxley, wow. I mean, he's just to me, he's just found this like very creepy, dark, twisted, uncomfortable demeanor that I think is really fun to watch play out. And Darby is a really good babyface to play off of that, because you've got Darby who's just he eats that kind of stuff up. He's not afraid of anything. That's his character, and so I think they're perfect for each other right now. I wish what they were doing had a little bit more meaning. I think Moxley, they need to get to the point a little bit with this story, and a little bit quicker, I should say, as far as this story goes, and like the essence of it, which is Moxley telling people, hey, this is not your company anymore. Like, that's a big line. And you got to deliver on that line. People aren't going to forget that he was spitting out that line. And so you have to, you got to deliver on it. And so, yeah, so that storyline being as good as it is, I think is overshadowing too. But again, it's hard not to overshadow this because they're not doing anything to even promote it. So it's a pretty low bar. I mean, I think you could argue that even at this point that the Ricochet Will Ospreay stuff is like better positioned than than Nigel and Danielson at this point, because at least it has something. And Nigel and Danielson really has nothing. Sean says, "What's up, guys? Zach, they messed up on this match, and Brian still technically isn't even cleared yet. That's the part that's just befuddling. I mean, there's a lot of issues with this, but still pretending like it's not going to happen. So pretending like the match isn't going to take place. It's like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing here? Of course the match is going to take place. We all know it is. Come on. What's the point of this? Just announce it and book it and build to it." Sean also says here, they did not get you excited at all. The crowd seemed very bored on TV. Plus the Jericho match went way too long. Yeah, it went long. I still think it's one of the better Jericho matches in the last 18 months. But yeah, it did go long. And yeah, the crowd was interesting last night. Like, And it stood out to me inside the Blackpool Combat Club segment where you have Private Party. And thanks, Sean. Appreciate you, man. You have Private Party who is and has been a heel team, most recently. And you used them yesterday as a means to get heat on the Blackpool Combat Club. And the audience just wasn't buying it. They just were not buying it. You had commentary going, oh, this crowd is uncomfortable. And it's like, doesn't seem that way to me. It doesn't sound that way to me. It sounds like they're just sitting on their hands and or kind of leaning towards cheering for Jon Moxley. Like, I think Private Party was a bad choice there. It was a really bad choice there. They don't have that type of babyface equity that is going to make audiences turn on Jon Moxley. So a bit of a miss in that regard. The Moxley, though, let's talk about him for a minute. I mean, I think he's been just tremendous. Before he took that little short hiatus, he just was a really tired act. I mean, the Wild Thing stuff, and it just was pretty one note. And he would fight people and he would bleed, and that was it. And that's the Moxley we've saw for the last year plus. And he needed a refresh. And what I like about this refresh is it's not like it's just a total 180. Like, you can see the essence of this character in all other iterations of Jon Moxley. And so I think it's I think it's a very it's a very good way to use Mox. The challenge is going to be getting him booed. I mean, and working with Bryan Danielson, obviously that helps. But then what happens after that? Like, he's such a cool guy, and this character is hard to dislike because it's so different from everything else, and it's so straightforward, and plus it's Mox, and who doesn't like Jon Moxley? So it's tough. It's going to be a tough putt to land, but I think they got to do it, in Moxley. And once he delivers on whatever this storyline is of, this isn't your company, that will help, kind of push things in whatever direction we're going, good or bad. Carl says here on this topic, says Private Party was a bad choice for the reasons stated. And the rumor is that this is a play on the Romper Stopper. Yes, sure. Yeah. Private Party. I don't know. They don't do anything for me. They've just been, like Moxley said, they've been in the same spot for a very long time. And, that's kind of it. I haven't seen any development there, or really understanding or true zest for something more in AEW. They seem pretty content, like doing what they're doing. And, I just don't think the audience is very interested in them right now, as we saw last night. Also last night in the show, in the main event, you had Will Ospreay team with Kyle Fletcher and Konosuke Takeshita against the Young Bucks and Kazuchika Okada. This match was a good match. It was a match that is, AEW is known for like 6-man tags like this one. I mean, it was action packed, no selling, all action, all spots. But it was it was over very, very strong. And so, you can't argue with that. Fun to see Will Ospreay and Fletcher and Takeshita go over. I think that tells you what the outcome of the match next week is going to be. I think you're looking at the Young Bucks retaining here with a pin over Fletcher, but needless to say, I think that's potentially a good match for next week on AEW Grand Slam. Ricochet beat the Beast Mortos in a Ricochet match. We got a question about this up above that I'm going to pull up here. Anthony says here, what is your take on Ricochet in AEW? Well, it's going exactly how I thought it would go. I think he's a mid-card guy. He was a mid-card guy in WWE. I think he's a mid-card guy in AEW. The only difference is his offense and what is special about him doesn't stand out as much in AEW. There's a lot of guys who can do what he can do. Lots. And they're all over Dynamite. They're all over Collision. They're all over Rampage. They're everywhere. And so he still is in the same place, and he still is missing the same thing. He's got to find some kind of character. He's got to find some kind of of gimmick, some kind of range from a personality perspective to go along with the in-ring. And if he doesn't, this is going to be the spot that you see him in. News out of last night's Dynamite is on the anniversary Dynamite in 2 weeks. Ricochet is going to wrestle Will Ospreay. That surprised me. That surprised me. To me, you got to have patience with that match. Ricochet has been in AEW for what? A month? Not even at this point. I guess maybe a little over a month. Okay. A little over a month. Fair. But, build that match up. And now they're just going to give it away next week. Ricochet got 2 wins, and now he's challenging for the title. So it's like, you got to check those instincts. You got to check those tendencies, and you got to go, okay, how do we get the most out of this match that people really want to see? You do it by building the guys up, by building a storyline up. And they've just had the interactions they've had have just been really low bar stuff. Like, oh, I'm going to beat you. And, oh, you're not ready. And, now they're going to have the match. It's like, no, come on, promo against the other guy. Talk about this match. Talk about what it means to win the international championship. Talk about what it means to defend the international championship. There's so many places to go on this that, to not go anywhere is baffling. So I didn't like this. I mean, I'm going to like the match when I'm watching it, but you're not getting the most out of it at all. And that's, for Ricochet, I think this is the challenge. He is in a company where his type of in-ring style is appreciated. But if you don't give it anything else, it becomes one note real quick, and one note that blends in really fast. So he's got to find another level to his work. Carl says, Ricochet baffles me. He's a very handsome chap, so I can see why. So I can't see why he can't make something that as a suit-wearing smug heel who doesn't wrestle a ton, so it feels big when he does. I don't know. I think I'm not sure he has the personality, Carl. I'm not sure he has, that range. He doesn't, he's not a compelling character. And he has never been really, throughout his career. That's not been what he brings to the table. And I think that's why, he's never really gotten to the next level. And, such is life, but hopefully, you can get more out of him here at some point, and hopefully he can deliver, more than he has up until this point. So, that's Dynamite. That's Dynamite. And next week is Grand Slam. We'll have a big Grand Slam preview probably Wednesday morning next week, so don't miss that right here at 1TS Daily, 11 Eastern. Tonight is the TNA Victory Road Fallout episode of Impact. We've got quite a few matches that they have promoted for tonight and hyped up. Mike Santana versus JDC in a Texas Death Match. We're going to see Spitfire, Jody Threat, and Danny Luna defend the TNA Knockouts Tag Team Championships. Joe Hendry is going to cut a promo. He beat Josh Alexander at Victory Road via submission, so we'll see what he has to say. AJ Francis and Casey Navarro are going to face Sinner and Saint in a tag team match, and Rhino is going to face Matt Cardona in a singles match. So pretty big night. I'm interested to see what Joe Hendry has to say. The next big TNA event is Bound for Glory, which is next month. And that's their biggest show of the year. That's their biggest pay-per-view of the year. It's like their WrestleMania, if you really want to call it that. What can you do on that show that's special? And to me, you put the title on Joe Hendry. I mean, he's had a heck of a year. When his contract is up, he's bouncing. He's going to leave. And so go with it. You just gave him a big win over the face of the franchise and Josh Alexander. It's time. It's time to do it. It's time to give him the title. And I think, if you choose to order that pay-per-view in October, the whole show can be built around him winning the title, him winning the world title. And I think that's what TNA needs to do. I did a long form show and chat about TNA yesterday on the Brass Ring Media YouTube channel. We went in depth on the company. It's on a show called Spotlight. It's our Wednesday live show. We talked in depth about TNA and what their place is in 2024 pro wrestling and what the good stuff that they do, the bad stuff that they do, the momentum that they have, the deal with NXT. What do they need to do to keep going? What are their issues? We really broke it all down for about, 45 minutes. Me and obviously live listeners. So it was really fun. So check it out on Brass Ring Media right now. That's my shop, by the way, Brass Ring Media. We kind of specialize in long form analysis of professional wrestling. So you definitely want to check out that channel and subscribe to it on YouTube. We are live Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday morning. The Saturday morning show is a show called the Kick-Ass Podcast with Ashley Manns. It is one of the best podcasts going today. So check it out. You can download all of our live shows for free as audio podcasts if you can't listen live on YouTube. But the Kick-Ass Podcast is something that you don't want to miss. I don't miss it. I'm so pumped that we have her on the team. And she does a great job on Saturday morning, starting your weekend off right with pro wrestling. So once again, that's the Brass Ring Media YouTube channel. Subscribe if you can, and check out some of our work. Check out some of our work there. We also, our other free platform, by the way, is on Substack. That is our key place of business where all of our written work lives. And so I review shows all throughout the week. We've got features there that drop every day, editorials that drop throughout the week. Interview recaps are up there. Lots of other great stuff from myself and the team. Subscribe there. It's totally free. You get content into your inbox every single day. Good, solid, strong content. And so check it out. Please give us a go over there. Brass Ring Media Substack. You can subscribe for free. That's pretty cool, right? Yeah. Sean here in the chat just doubling down. Says Ashley is just awesome. Yeah, she very much is. So check it out. Check her out, guys. Carl on the topic of Joe Hendry says belting Joe Hendry is one of the things. Maybe if they could get WWE to loan AJ, book him against Speedball Mike Bailey. I mean, both those matches are good matches. I mean, that's what I mean. Like, that's why you do belt him, because you can have fun matches like that. You could do AJ Styles, you could do Mike Bailey, you can do Mustafa Ali, you can do Moose. I mean, like so many talents you can have matches with before he inevitably leaves. And that's going to happen. That's an inevitability for all top stars in TNA. And so recognize that. If you're a company, you got to get the most out of them while you can and then go. And I suspect that that's what you're going to hear tonight on TNA Impact. Something about Hendry declaring that he wants a shot at the title at Bound for Glory. Guys, there it is, 30 minutes. Wow, goes by fast. We'll be back tomorrow, though, right here at 1TS Daily, 11 Eastern. So don't miss out. Subscribe to the channel. If you can pause quickly and like this video, I'd really appreciate it. It helps us out. And yeah, tomorrow, obviously, we'll talk SmackDown, and we'll give that show a preview. We'll check in on TNA and see if my prediction with Joe Hendry is right. And then, of course, we'll talk about all the other news of the day and news of the week going into the weekend in professional wrestling. So join us tomorrow, 11 Eastern. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Thursday, and we'll catch you next time. I'm Zack Heydorn, signing off. See ya.